Hi, I'm Dr. Patrice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. It is already December, but it is finally sweater weather here in Georgia. We have warm weather right up until about now. Sometimes we get it in, our cold front usually comes in around November, but this year it decided to wait. And I like this sweater. I put these little holes in the sleeves to just kind of give it a little bit of flair, and it's gathered in the front and flares out like a really cool top. But I love sweater weather. And for everyone, sweater weather has a memory. It brings something back. The changing of the weather when it becomes cold and crisp, and you start to pull out things that you haven't had on, and it brings back memories. And for me, the memory is always back to when I was a kid around 12 years old. I was in class, and for some reason I just started crying. It's probably the stress of home and life and stuff, and I just began to cry. And my teacher said, "What's wrong?" And I couldn't say anything, and it made the emotions come even greater. And he said, "Who's your best friend?" And I didn't have a best friend. Um, and I just said Barbara Dorsey. Now, Barbara Dorsey didn't say anything, but Barbara Dorsey, when she would smile, had the biggest and brightest smile, and she was super smart. And she had this gap in her front teeth, and she smiled, these big cheeks would light up. She did that whenever she had the answer. And so I just said Barbara Dorsey. So we went outside, and both of us just stood there, neither one of us talking. And it felt like we'd been there all day. It was probably more like 30 minutes. And Barbara just finally said, "Do you want to go to church?" And I was like, "Yes." And she told me where her church was, and I got myself up that Sunday and dressed myself because my family did not attend church. My mother had a falling out with church, and I didn't find out for years. And so I went to the church, and I got up and I put on, it was cool and crisp, and I put on my best dress. I had three. I only had three dresses, but there was this sweater in my family that kind of was passed down. We got it from Goodwill, but then it was passed from one family member to the next. We wore that sweater. I think I had it last, and I probably wore it into my late 20s. And one day I was wearing it. My brother looked at me and said, "That's mine." We were like grown people still fighting over this sweater. And I put on my sweater over my dress, and I walked to church. And the music and the emotion and the sense that this was a place that I could be and I could belong. Um, Sweaters, weather, things bring memories. I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves to feel those memories. I get messages and letters from folks every day saying, "How do you have so many stories? How do you have so many amazing stories?" We all do. We are wired for story, but we don't pay attention. We don't make the connections later on. I can't wake up and put on a sweater without thinking of Barbara Dorsey, this kid who invited me into a world that opened up my heart and my spirit to connect with God. Children are watching, and they are building their memories and their storehouses of resources of love. We need to listen to them, but we also need to listen to our memories, listen to who we are and how we are and what we are. I love you.